This is the story about a small, Arizona-Mexico border town called Ruby, Arizona. Ruby became a fairly prosperous town, but as you will hear in this story, it had its share of tragedy. Ruby, Arizona was not always called Ruby. In the early years it was known as Montana Camp, but we'll talk a bit more on that later. Ruby is located in the Oro Blanco mining district north and west of Nogales. This was an area that was first prospected by the Spanish for gold and silver as far back as 1740. In around 1821 it is said that Mexicans were in this area poking around looking for silver. It wasn't until the 1870s that prospectors discovered the high-grade quartz veins that became known as the Montana vein, and from that point, the gold rush was on. The Montana mine was a very prosperous mine. It was owned by the Orion Mining Company. The Orion Mining Company also owned the Ostrich Mill where the ore was stamped and ground to powder. Early in the 1900s, the company built an amalgamation and a cyanide mill to help recover more of the gold and silver that was being mined around Montana Camp. From 1916 to 1918, the Goldfield Consolidated Mines Exploration Company operated the Montana mine and mined out $260,000 in gold and silver. During the years from 1912 to 1926, the Montana mine went from producing silver and gold to producing lead and zinc because of the large amounts of lead. In fact, during the 1930s, this mine produced more lead and zinc than any other mine in Arizona. In 1909, Montana Camp changed its name to Ruby. Julius Andrews, one of the town's merchants who ran a store there, decided to rename the town after his wife, Lily B. Ruby Andrews. Running the store, he was the one who applied to get a post office at Montana Camp and at that time decided to rename the town. By this time, the town had hundreds of residents and close to 300 workers in the mines alone. It was a prosperous town. Now Ruby was located very close to the Mexican border and was also known as a rough town. Lots of times unruly outlaw types from the south would cross over the border into the town and raise hell. In 1920, store owners John and Alex Fraser were gunned down in a robbery by a couple of Mexicans. John lived long enough to tell authorities who it was. One of the Mexicans was tracked down and shot, but the other one managed to skip back into Mexico. About a year later, there was another robbery and the owners, which was a couple, were gunned down also. The couple was Frank Pearson and his wife Myrtle. Frank's 4-year-old daughter and his sister Irene were also in the store when several bandits entered. After shooting Frank, they then shot his wife after forcing her to open the safe. In all the confusion, Irene managed to get the hell out of there with Frank's 4-year-old daughter. One of the bandits noticed Myrtle's gold teeth, so he knocked them out with his gun. These gold teeth are what got him arrested after he tried selling them in a tavern. He was sentenced to death by hanging and his partner in crime received life behind bars. Some say this tragedy was because the store was cursed because this store had been built on top of a padre's grave. Then, in 1926, the Eagle Pitcher Mining Company took over the Montana mine. This company built a pipeline from the Santa Cruz River to bring water to the mine, mill, and the town. Between the years 1928 and 1940, about 780,000 tons was mined from the Montana mine at a profit of $4.5 million. By 1940, the ore had run out and the mine closed down and people started to leave the town. During its existence, the mine processed about 870,000 tons of ore, which yielded 126,500 ounces of gold, 4,600,000 ounces of silver, 31,000 tons of lead, 26,000 tons of zinc, and 2,600 tons of copper. In 1940, when the ore had run out and water was starting to seep into the drifts, the Eagle Pitcher ceased operations. The post office closed up in 1941, and in 1946, the school closed. At that point, Ruby became a ghost town. In 1961, some investors bought the old town, and it is still owned by the family of the original investors today. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the old town of Ruby, Arizona. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more old lost mine stories.